right, welcome to Computational Combat. We're looking at mixed martial arts through the eyes of a betting algorithm. I'm Dylan Grayson, joined as always by the brains of the operation, Johnny Koppelman, and one of two men named Connor I know who hasn't given shit to Dustin Poirier's charity. It's Connor Protter. How are we doing?
No, fuck you. I bought Poirier's hot sauce. He probably donated some of that shit.
Oh, that hot sauce is bomb. All right, so gonna jump right into it. We have, I guess, 2 weeks of past information to go over quickly, and then jumping into what is a bad card with a good main event, if you ask me.
There's two good fights, and then there's a couple names.
All right. So, Johnny, last week and the week before, break it down.
The week before was a terrible week, and it was mostly because most of our funds, if I'm looking at this correct, were on Stipe on that for that current week. So Stipe did poorly, and a couple of other guys we put money on did poorly, so the card tanked. It was depending on if you place the bets when I read it on the screen, then you went down like 50% on your bet. I went down more because I placed it later with more extreme or less extremes, so I didn't capitalize. But that week the model did really well. The model was only off on 2 fights that week, whereas the algorithm itself for the betting, where it bets at value, might have been off more. And then this past week was kind of decent. It went down 15% on the bet, but that's not much at all considering how bad it should have done, because all of the big bets lost, but all the small bets won. Like Dong Jung won, which was cool to see. Daniel Rodriguez, Arnold Allen, and Julian Marquez. Those were all like of our smaller bets, which won, and then the bigger bets like like Kevin Holland and Jim Miller lost.
All right.
And Sasha lost. So.
All right. Looking to get back into the win column this week as we discuss UFC Fight Night Gastelum versus Whittaker. And jumping right into it. So this first bout, you'll see here, I like to share the screen so we have a visual cue. Not on the UFC website, so I'm not sure where it is in the bout order. So I've just pulled up a random article. So Austin Hubbard will be facing UFC newcomer Dakota Bush. This was supposed to be Hubbard versus Natan Levi. Not even sure how it's pronounced, but the three of us were particularly hyped on his debut, and he's not there. And in steps Dakota Bush. It is what it is. I feel like Hubbard's losses in the UFC seem to be aging well, and Bush hasn't faced this level of competition yet, so I'm going to take Hubbard. Don't really have anything more to say on that.
That's not true, because you forgot to mention Dakota Bush's nickname, who will be introduced. Possibly the worst or best introduction is Dakota Harry Bush.
That's the best one I've ever heard in my life.
It gives me vibes of like Andre Touchy-Feely.
Yeah. God, yeah. It's I don't have anything else to say past what you're suggesting. Austin Hubbard, he's lost a decent amount, but his losses are to people that I would expect him to lose to because they're really fucking good. I'll take Hubbard in this one. Yeah, especially considering that he's fighting a late notice replacement dude who might not have had a full camp, even though it's a different opponent, a different style of opponent. Like, training is something.
Fair enough. And then no algorithm call for this because we have a debut, correct?
Correct.
All right. So with that, we move into what is actually been announced for this card in order. Opening up at bantamweight, we have Tony Gravely versus Anthony Birchak.
The fight order on UFC is very different than the fight order on Tapology.
I'm going to trust the UFC's website on it. But yes, I did notice that as well. So every single one of Gravely's losses has aged quite well, and I can't say the same for Birchak. He's returned to the UFC and gone 0-1 since then. I don't have too much faith in him. And looking at Gravely's record, I was like, okay, that's pretty good. And then looking at who he's lost to, I was like, oh, wait, no. He only gets beat by very good people. I trust him to get it done here.
Yeah, the only name of someone that's beaten him that I didn't recognize was his first loss, which was 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. That's not to say like, oh, he only loses to good names, therefore he's that good, considering that like the people he's beaten, and Ray Rodriguez is fine. Geraldo de Freitas is like fine. Draco Rodriguez, okay. But like you were saying, Anthony Birchak hasn't really beaten that many notable people. I think, especially if a dude is coming out of his prime at 34, like I'm going to take Gravely.
All right. Johnny, what do we got?
So hopefully Connor's streak stays alive because the model picks Gravely as well. 66% favorite. Actually, hopefully Connor's wrong because then the betting algorithm caught value on the underdog here. On Anthony, it's putting, if you're betting all of your money, it's putting 6.56% of your throw on there. And if you have a fund set aside, then it's putting 0.5%. I was shook because a couple fights up, it's a crazy call, and I just noticed it now, so you'll see. But that's why I was shook a couple seconds ago.
And also, for reference, Connor's streak that we're talking about, last week we posted all of our picks on the Instagram because we didn't have time to get together to do the podcast. Connor went 11-1 with his personal picks for last week, so good on you. Not quite as good as the dude who swept Verdict with a perfect
That was
score.
crazy.
Unbelievable. I don't know who the dude is, no connection to him, but he got every fight, round, and method correct. So
how do you call that? The submission call was crazy to me.
I have no idea. Anyway, moving on to our next one. This is an absolute banger, said absolutely nobody ever.
Hey, that's Amanda and Nino's third piece.
It's not. So Zara Fairn versus Josiane Nunes. And I believe this bout is at bantamweight. So Fairn has never had a decent win, and Nunes is making her debut. So the question becomes, is Josiane Nunes any good? And the answer is going to be determined by whether or not she can beat Zara Fairn. If she can't beat Zara Fairn, she's not good. If she can, maybe she is. I'm not going to make a call on this. I've got nothing.
I'll make a call. I got nothing to lose except for everything, including my dignity. Zara Fairn lost to 2 out of the 3 women's featherweights. If you're losing to Felicia Spencer and you're getting triangled by Megan Anderson, like the question is not how good does Josiane Nunes have to be, it's how bad does she have to be.
Fair enough.
Take the person who hasn't gotten triangled by Megan Anderson.
And no call from the algorithm here. We have a debut. All right, so moving on to our next one. If I can actually figure out how to do this. So, Johnny, gonna call on you here for your expert pronunciation skills.
I knew you were gonna.
It's actually, I don't think it's that bad. Bartosz.
Well, I know Gerald Meerschaert, right?
Yeah, Gerald Meerschaert versus Bartosz Fabinski.
I would have gotten that all right.
Yeah, I've decided not to believe you. So this bout at middleweight, a little bit interesting to me just because I'm not super confident here. But I think GM3 is at a level where he should be able to beat Fabinski. Fabinski has a few losses by submission on his record, and that to me is where I expect Meerschaert to come through. And also I'm thinking that maybe if people have only seen Meerschaert's most recent fight, where he got starched in one punch by Khamzat Chimaev, they might underrate him. We might get some good value here. But I like Meerschaert.
This is actually a pretty difficult fight for me to call. Meerschaert's looked pretty bad recently. He's coming off of 2 straight knockout losses. In the last win where he didn't look like shit was maybe Eric Spicely back in 2017. He's definitely, the dude's been around forever and I have a lot of respect for that, but he's been fighting forever. He has 55 fights now. Okay. Which is insane for a dude that's 33. He's been fighting since 2007.
Wow.
So, and plus, the way that he likes to go for submissions a lot is kind of just really bad shots and then just kind of hoping, hey, maybe I can catch something off of this. He's not really the most aggressive, top control artist or guy who will shoot the takedown. He tries for the Damian Maia game without Damian Maia's skills. So I think I'm going to take Fabinski in this. Wouldn't surprise me if he loses because GM3 is a significant step up, but the dude's, I don't know. He took a long layoff, which is good. But I don't know how well to trust him.
Yeah, it's funny how after getting starched in 18 seconds, he still returned faster than the man that knocked him out?
17 seconds.
Oh, okay.
COVID is a son of a bitch. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Wow,
So
controversial
Johnny.
opinion there, Johnny.
Yeah, this is the MMA world. Careful.
That's true. That's true. I forgot.
I talk about it all the time. Johnny, what's up with the algorithm?
Yeah, so the algorithm heavily disagrees with you, Dylan. Fabinski is an 81% favorite. And I will tell you why I believe this is. When you get starched without even landing a punch, your numbers will get fucked. And honestly, like, can that cause a mismatch in the algorithm? Maybe, but also if a dude who's pretty much unproven is able to knock you out in one punch and you haven't even let a single shot on him, I don't know. Maybe it's a fluke. Maybe it's not. That's what the algorithm says. The books have him as a favorite as well because of probably what you said, Dylan. Everyone saw Meerschaert get knocked out in one punch. So if you are throwing everything, you are throwing 24.59% of it on Fabinski, baby. And if you have a fund like myself, 1.88%. This isn't even the play that made me shook before. So it's coming up.
That's a quarter of the night's money.
Yes, it is. It is. A lot of the fact.
Okay, Dylan, that's on your end.
Is it? Okay, I'm getting very echoey. Better now?
Yeah, fine now.
Okay, cool. I think my own personal volume was too high. All right. On to the next one. Strawweight bout. Jessica Penne versus Lupita Godinez. Great nickname. Look, Jessica Penne's last fight was in 2017. It was her fourth loss in a row, and it was to Dynamite Danielle Taylor. If you've ever listened to this podcast before, you know just how pathetically bad that is. Yeah, Jessica Penne's claim to fame is having her face literally rearranged by Joanna Jędrzejczyk, like to the point where she got like facial reconstructive surgery after that fight. And she hasn't been the same since. And I don't think that necessarily says anything about her as a fighter. What it means is that she took so much damage, she was never the same. And then there was some sort of issue with USADA where they claimed something with tainted supplements, but she actually had some sort of legitimate claim and response where USADA was going overboard and she was trying to sue them. And this is one of those times where like, I'm usually relatively quick to be like, fuck them, cheater. But like this time I'm actually going to stay back because there seems to be a decent amount of controversy. But it's been 4 years since she fought. Her last loss is particularly embarrassing. And she's facing the LFA champ. Not that I think LFA's women's strawweight division is like stacked to hell, but like, I'm going to trust the newcomer who's undefeated and on a hot streak against somebody on a 4-fight losing streak that hasn't fought in 4 years, who has taken serious damage.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, she has tried to have 3 fights scheduled since then, but like Penne was never, like you said, Penne wasn't the same after fighting Joanna. She's on a 3-fight skid. Her last fight was in 2017. She's 38. Like, I feel bad for her because she's had really shit luck. But I'm going to take the newcomer in this one. Sorry, Penne.
Yeah, and no call from the algorithm because we have a debut.
I do like Penne a la vodka, if that means anything.
I did write in my notes that Godinez was going to eat Penne for dinner, but I decided it was too cheesy.
No, Dylan, that would have been exactly what I would have expected from you.
All right, well, I've said it now. All right, moving on to our next one. This bout somehow not sponsored by King Kong versus Godzilla. It's King Kong versus El Guapo. Alexander Romanov versus Juan Espino at heavyweight. This to me is interesting. We've got 2 genuine prospects at heavyweight. Do you know how rare that is? That doesn't happen.
Tell us how rare it is.
Rare enough that I've never seen it before. Every time you have a prospect, they're usually just fighting like the older heavyweight guard until they can eventually get to the top. Now
Arlovski, who's on this card.
But legitimately. But now we've got 2 guys who are both like on hot streaks, 13-0 versus 11-1. Both of them have a bunch of wins by submission with excellent top game. And a lot of that comes from just being fucking huge. But both of these guys, arm triangles and scarf holds and all of this stuff that's literally just, I take you, I smash you on ground, and I pin you there, and you can't stop me. And it's really interesting to see, like, two guys with that similar style face each other. And I don't know who to pick. I'm leaning towards Romanov. I see a lot of potential in him, but I mean, what I saw from Espino his last time out, I was also very impressed. Romanov is also the one who I think after he wins, he ridiculously like judo throws his coach like all the way across the octagon every time. It's lovely. I'm going to take Romanov here, but it wouldn't surprise me if it went the other way. This is a little bit of a mirror match stylistically, in my opinion.
It's weird for me to call Juan Espino a prospect, considering that his first official fight was in 2009, and that he's 40 years old. But yeah, it is kind of two prospects. I also don't really fucking know who to pick. Like, Espino is definitely the more experienced guy, just in terms of like even some of his exhibition bouts on The Ultimate Fighter, like. Fuck, man, I don't know. I mean, Romanov with Roque Martinez and Marcos Rogerio de Lima, those are both better wins than a win over Jeff Hughes, in my opinion, or over a very green Maurice Green. I think I'm also going to take Romanov, but I mean, Espino's he's older, but he's been training longer ostensibly. And he's the bigger dude. I don't know. Romanov.
What do we got, Johnny?
Okay. We got a record here. Never seen this in my entire life. And we're almost at a year of the model. Not just the betting algorithm, the model. It has Romanov at a 96.3% favorite. I have never seen that ever. And this model's been going for almost a year. I don't even know what to say about that.
Have you gone back and like checked the data and make sure there's not like an incorrect entry?
Yes.
You're sure? Because like, I don't like looking at the two of them.
It has to be
like an even bout.
It has to be that like the model's trained on fights, blah blah blah. This fight must be seen so many times that it knows how to classify it that much. I couldn't tell you why.
We're wrong on this one now.
What?
We're wrong on this one now. You look like a fucking idiot.
32% of your throw is going on Romanov. And let me tell you something. Once I saw this, I said 96%. I never see this. Why would I only throw that much? Me personally, I might like pick and choose which ones I dump off, like the low value plays, and put more money. 96%. I've never seen that. I want to change the algorithm to take advantage of this kind of value in the future. It's going to change the algorithm because I saw this and realized, like, how is it not throwing more? But yeah, 32.79% on Romanov if you're throwing, if you have money set aside to throw, and if you have a fund, it's 2.5%. And if you're me, I will tell you at the end of the podcast, because I already looked it out, the splits that I'm going to do. But I'm going to be throwing over 50% of my fund on him.
Okay, if you follow,
not my fund, of my throw,
if you followed us, like, and the algorithms picks as they are, like word for word, 2 losses could put you down 50% this week. That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
If we're wrong about Romanov,
that's why you don't bet all of your money at 1 week, because if you bet the correct amount, then you'd only go down a total of
2.5%. Yeah. That's still a lot. All right. Well, moving
Johnny,
on.
The real question is, what kind of fucked up hot sauce shit are you going to do if you're wrong?
Yeah.
This is the problem with that. I didn't bring any of my hot sauce to my apartment because I just forgot. So instead I can
you could order on Amazon.
I could shotgun like 4 Loco or something, if that's what you want to bring back to college. I don't know.
Order yourself some plutonium number 9.
Definitely not going to do. Definitely not going to do that. My colon will not thank me. My Jewish colon will not like that.
It's literally poison. Ooh, get some nice deli horseradish.
All right.
Oh, I love that.
Speaking of issues with the colon, versus Justine Kish. Thank you for the best segue in the history of this show.
End the show. That's perfect.
That's it. That's it. All right, the show's done. It's over. No. All right.
You peaked.
Johnny, is that reference catching for you? Justine,
Is she the one that shit herself?
yeah, she's
Yes.
unfortunate, but it does happen.
Listen, she'll never outlive that.
Yeah, fighting at flyweight here. This is the prelim headliner, surprisingly, and it's kind of a tough call. But Cortez seems like a really good prospect to me, and I really don't know what else to say beyond that. So that's kind of it. I'm going to go with Cortez here.
Yeah, I mean, wins over Melo and Agapova are pretty reasonable if I remember correctly. Let me just double check Melo to make sure I'm not stupid. I'm stupid. But I mean, a win over Agapova is pretty nice. Justine Kish is not had the best run of lately. Like a win over Pudilova is legit, but like Mazo, Kim, and Herrig are like not really the losses that you want to be having. I'm also going to take Cortez in this one.
Johnny, do we have something, or is this a debut?
It is a debut. No. Sorry. It is not a debut. It is not a debut. So we have Cortez as an 82% favorite. Dude, this card is high value. I'll tell you that much right now. So if you have a fund set aside, you're throwing 16.39% on Cortez. And if you're me and you have a fund, you're throwing 1.25% on Cortez. I do want to mention that Cortez is a favorite in the books also, and so was Romanov. They're both favorite in the books. We have them as heavier favorites. So I don't know if you care, but them the facts.
All right, it matters. All right, moving on to our next one, opening the main card. This fight I actually think will be a banger, totally unironically. Ricardo Hamosh versus Bill Algeo at featherweight. I like both of these guys. I think they're both exciting fighters. That being said, looking at the two of them and looking at their recent records, Algeo's loss to Ricardo Lamas doesn't really make me feel all that confident in him. That is a recent loss to Ricardo Lamas. I'm going to go with Ricardo Hamosh here.
Yeah, I really like Hickey Hamosh. But I keep wanting him to succeed in places where he fails. Like I remember that fucking spinning back elbow over Ayman Zahabi, which was disgusting. I don't know. I mean, these are both super good prospects. I really fucking like both of them. I'm probably also going to take Ricardo Hamosh just because I really keep wanting to believe in him and hope that he'll succeed. Hopefully the loss to Lerone Murphy hasn't fucked him up too badly. Yeah. I'm going to take Hickey.
And Verdict agrees with us. Ricardo Hamosh, by decision, the most common pick.
Well, tell Verdict they can go shove it up because we got Bill Algeo. Well, not Verdict themselves, the people in Verdict.
No, I'm saying no because I want Ricardo Hamosh to win.
You people.
Yeah, just you people.
Like
Because Verdict itself, we like a good global scorecard. But anyway, Bill Algeo, we got him as a 57% favorite, so it is definitely close. It's pretty split. Like it's as close as it can get in the books, but he is the betting favorite. So take that how you want that as well. If you're throwing everything 3.28% on Algeo, and if you're me, 0.25%. I do think it's always interesting when the betting favorite is different than the Verdict favorite. I find that interesting. Yeah, is that separating the MMA fanatics from the casual bettors? Is that what that is? What is that,
I think that's it. And I think we may see another one of those with this next one.
Or is that the book trying to cover its ends and that Verdict is exposing a mismatch on the book and we can leverage that? You never know.
It's possible. Moving on to the next one here, a lightweight bout between Luis Peña and Alexander Muñoz. So
this is a terrible picture.
Yeah, simply put, Luis Peña is not nearly as good as the UFC wants him to be. I tried to look through his record for a good comparison, and I immediately saw his loss to Matt Frivola, and I was like, yeah, this fight is going to be his loss to Matt Frivola again. And I think that was a split decision, but it really shouldn't have been. That seemed, biased towards the Serra-Longo boys, but I thought that was a pretty clear loss for Peña. I feel like Muñoz is going to do the same thing. Peña's not all that great at dealing with wrestlers, and it's going to come back and bite him in the ass. Connor?
I was just checking MMA decisions. It's pretty even for Frivola, but more people said Frivola won than not. Actually, interestingly enough, fan scoring had it for Peña. Either way, I actually had the exact same gut reaction. I was like, I don't remember Luis Peña ever dealing with wrestlers very well. And saw the loss to Frivola and the loss to Trezano. I guess Trezano's not a wrestler. It's weird for a dude who trains at AKA to struggle with it that much. But I would expect a fighter like Alex Muñoz, who he wrestles. He's team alpha male, so his wrestling is fucking gold. He's definitely got a guillotine like Kama Worthy, who just choked out Luis Peña. And he's willing to pressure and be aggressive against a tall guy who's not comfortable doing anything to defend punches except for being tall and moving away. I would expect that to make up the difference over the long run.
He's not just Team Alpha Male. He's Team Alpha Male's wrestling coach.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, that's what they said about him when he was on Contender Series. He beat Nick Newell, which was
I remember that fight.
Sad. Because, you want the feel-good story. I mean, good for Muñoz. But, and what you just said, Johnny, coming back around, Peña here, the most common pick in the world on verdict by decision. I think fans like him, and I think it's because his nickname is Violent Bob Ross, and that's genuinely very funny. And I think that's skewing here, and I think that's probably skewed fan scoring in all of his fights, if you ask me. I don't know what people see in him. I don't think he's that good. Johnny, what do we got?
The algorithm also likes him. It thinks that Bob Ross connection is hysterical. So the algorithm has him as a 53% favorite. However, the books have him as an even fatter favorite. We caught value on Muñoz, so that's kind of dope because if you guys like him a lot, then maybe that is a great play. It's throwing 1.64% on Muñoz. If you have funds set aside, that's your play. And if you're me, literally me, then you're going to put 0.13% on Muñoz.
All right, moving on to the next
I don't know about that, man.
What?
I don't know about that. There are less and less of them nowadays as I've grown to accept more and more the algorithm is smarter than I am. But I really don't trust Peña. I don't know what it sees.
Good thing that the betting lines are put in such a way that we get to bet on Muñoz. But yeah, it's crazy when it does picks like that. I agree.
Moving on to our next one, and it's time to ask an important question. What did Jacob Malkoun do to deserve this? Abdul Razak Alhassan versus Jacob Malkoun. Jacob Malkoun was 4-0 when he got picked up by the UFC, and he got knocked out in 18 seconds by Phil Hawes. Abdul Razak Alhassan is coming off of 2 losses, one of which was a knockout in the first round, early in the first round too. But Malkoun, I don't think, has that kind of power, so that's not going to happen. And Malkoun got knocked out by a guy with significantly less power in his hands than Alhassan. Also worth noting, Alhassan has the thickest thighs of any man I've ever seen. There you go.
I knew you were a thick thigh guy.
Dude, when everything comes from the legs, right? All of the
in striking especially.
That dude, I don't know, his lower body looks like Francis Ngannou, and his upper body just looks like a welterweight. It's weird. That being said, Jacob Malkoun. Sorry.
No, you're good. So Abdul Razak Alhassan got knocked out by a dude with 2 nicknames. Jacob Malkoun only has 1 nickname, and therefore I will pick Abdul Razak Alhassan as the number of nicknames cancel out, and he hits really fucking hard.
Diago also has Alhassan as a favorite. Oh, wait. You want to say verdict for verdict
let me quickly pull up verdict. Yeah, Alhassan by knockout in the first, most common pick. Not surprised.
I love when it's the knockout the first. That's crazy. But anyway, Alhassan's a favorite in the algorithm's eyes too, 71.54%. Now, this is where it gets weird for me because obviously he's a favorite in the books, so much so that someone that we have as a 28% chance of winning catches value. So 1.64% if you're throwing it all, and 0.13% if you just have fun like me. However, this is one of the fights where I'm going to avoid. And the money that would have went there, I'm personally, whatever, but I'm personally going to throw that on Romanov because it doesn't make sense to me to bet on someone. And I'm adjusting this for the algorithm. I've looked at data. I just haven't made the play to change the algorithm yet. But through the looking at data, we haven't realized profit by betting on these 28% fights because we don't do it enough. We don't do it enough that they win 28% of the time. So it's not matching up. And if it doesn't match up, then that means those throws don't make sense. So in the future, they're going to be avoided, those kinds of throws. But yeah, so I'm avoiding it. But if you want to listen to the algorithm, 1.64 if it's all, 0.13 if you have fun.
Yeah, the only thing in response is that it is such a small throw. I'm not particularly concerned. If the other ones come through, you're still going to be happy.
Yeah, but the point of it is that like quickly to visualize this. So it's like if you bet on someone that has a 28% chance of winning, get rid of that person. Don't associate that person. What you're saying, if you want to succeed in the long run, is, hey, I'm betting on this 28% chance event to happen. And in the long run, if it happens 28% of the time and the percentage is right, like let's say anytime it says 20%, if those do come true, you realize profit. Otherwise, you don't. And I'm saying in the back end, we're not betting on it enough to realize that profit. It's not matching up 28 to 28. So it's like that means we're not playing those events enough, which means it doesn't make sense to take.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And like through math a little bit.
Hey, did somebody say weird bets? It's Andrei Arlovski versus Chase. I don't know what keeps happening, but Andrei Arlovski seems to always be the favorite on our betting algorithm, or at least it happens enough. I think last time the algorithm said otherwise, and I was like, I don't know, and then he lost. But he's facing Chase Sherman, who, besides being called the Vanilla Gorilla, doesn't have all that much going for him. He's all right. He got cut from the UFC, went to bare knuckle boxing, and then the UFC was like, oh shit, everyone's dying of COVID. We need more fighters. And they snatched him back up, and he got a win over Ike Villanueva. Yeah, fine, but I don't feel like Chase Sherman's going to knock out Andrei Arlovski. And I feel like if he doesn't, he's going to get decisions by Andrei Arlovski.
Yeah, first off, so much respect for Arlovski stepping in because Chase Sherman was originally set to fight Parker Porter, great name for a heavyweight. He was originally set to fight someone else. Dude pulled out like pretty last minute. And Arlovski, former UFC champion, who is 42 years old and has 50 fucking fights, was just like, yeah, I'll step in, whatever, not a big deal. Dude's a gangster. I have so much respect for that. Yeah, Chase Sherman can hit reasonably hard, but he's a heavyweight, so I expect that. His chin isn't necessarily of heavyweight quality. I think I said this every single time Arlovski's been on a card that we've talked about. I don't know how to fucking rate Arlovski anymore, but I'm gonna pick him to win a decision. God damn it!
And Verdict agrees with you exactly.
And so does the betting algorithm. The betting algorithm has Arlovski as a 51.66% favorite.
I'm here.
51.66% favorite. However, the books have him as an even greater favorite. We caught value on Malkoun. 1.64% of your throw if you're throwing it all, and 0.13% of your fund if you're just doing a small amount. Now, this is putting a value play at a guy we have as a 48% chance of winning. This I like. This makes sense.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our co-main event here, as Jeremy Stephens, the number 10th ranked featherweight, moves up to lightweight to face Drakkar Klose.
Oh wow, he moved up.
Yeah,
interesting fight for me. Drakkar Klose, his last fight was a knockout loss to Beneil Dariush, which has aged quite well, and also he had Dariush hurt real bad, and then Dariush persevered and turned it around for the knockout. What is my cat doing? He's fine. All right. So that even though he's coming off of a knockout loss, Drakkar Klose doesn't really look bad there. On the other hand, Jeremy Stephens, and I can't believe this when I looked at his record, is 0-4-1 in his last 5. Yes, they're all two very good fighters, but he's on forgetting that 15-second fight with Yair Rodriguez where he immediately took an eye poke and the fight was just called off and that was a no contest. Forgetting that, he's 0-4 in his last 4. And I'm glad Yair poked him in the eye because they set up that rematch on the Boston card and I was there live and it was fucking incredible. Yeah, he loses to good people. but he keeps losing. And Drakkar Klose just lost to somebody who is very good, but had him hurt bad. I don't know. I'm taking Klose.
This would definitely be Jeremy Stevens. This would be the worst loss yet of the career of Jeremy Stevens. But that's not saying much, because as much as Drakkar Klose is an absolute douchebag and I fucking hate him and hope he gets knocked out brutally, he's a fucking asshole.
What did he do? Jeez.
He was the dude who against Mark Giacchese started talking shit about British people after the win. And he was the dude who against David Tamor couldn't handle the fact that Tamor was just a better fighter than him and started putting his hands down and complaining every single time, being like, look, he's not engaging me, because Klose couldn't cut off the cage. To the point where Herb Dean literally stepped in to warn David Tamor for inactivity, despite the fact that the one who was being inactive was Klose, by just refusing to fight. He's a fucking asshole.
All right.
Anyway, like Dylan was saying, Stevens has just consistently had a lot of losses. This would be he hasn't won in over 3 years now.
Oh, wow.
He's moving up to a bigger weight class against a guy who is comfortable being a pressure fighter, a clinch grinder, and a wrestler. Maybe Stevens has the power to knock him out, but I don't think that Klose's chin is bad. I think Beneil Dariush landed literally the perfect fucking punch. And I don't think that Stevens has anywhere near the outfighting skill to take him apart like David Tamor did. So I'm going to take Klose.
Well, you'll be happy to know that Verdict thinks Stevens by knockout in the second is the most common.
Be even happier to know that the algorithm has Klaus.
Close.
Oh, Klose. Okay.
As it's spelled.
I thought I was wrong. I just couldn't. It's too good to be true that I haven't pronounced the name incorrect yet today. It has Klose as a 53% favorite, agreeing with you. And also, he is an underdog, a slight underdog, though, very slight on the books. If you're throwing everything, you throw 3.28% on him. And if you have a fund, it's 0.25%. Wait, so he went up a weight class, yeah?
Yes,
technically he went down a weight class and has gone up a weight class since. He started his career at 155.
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind then.
One other thing to note is also that Jeremy Stevens holds the record for the most losses in the UFC.
Right.
He's about to get another one. I really don't see him win. I think he was good at a point. He had his time.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
He has 17 losses.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
How many wins does he have?
17 losses in the UFC, yeah.
More losses than wins?
Yeah, significantly more.
Oof.
But they've all been very good people.
Yeah, because he's not cut. I mean, Dana White cuts people pretty haphazardly. So the fact that he's not cut must mean there's something. There's some reason.
He's consistently been fighting very good talent.
Oh, okay. I exaggerated. 16 wins, 17 losses.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to our main event. Middleweight here. Number 1 contender, Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum, the number 8 contender. This fight was supposed to happen about 2 years ago. In the time since then, I think Kelvin Gastelum has fallen off a little bit. He's a not super late, but relatively late replacement here for Paulo Costa. Whittaker's style relies heavily on him darting in, landing, a punch or two, and then darting back out like a karate style. And Kelvin Gastelum has very fast hands. So maybe that plays into it a little bit, but Kelvin Gastelum does not strike me as a counter striker. No pun intended. I don't see this going Kelvin Gastelum's way. Could he spark Whittaker? Maybe, but Whittaker's got a good chin. The reason that he got knocked out by Adesanya is because Adesanya is a counter striker who kept placing the punches exactly where they needed to be and landed over and over in every exchange. I just don't see Gastelum getting the job done, and I don't see him succeeding if he can't finish the job.
Yeah, so I don't fully agree, but I kind of agree. I think the fact that Bobby Knuckles really likes to blitz in is going to make it is going to be advantageous for Kelvin. Like Kelvin he has really fucking fast hands, some of the fastest at middleweight. He is comfortable just throwing down. He's got inactive but sufficient counter or defensive wrestling. I think that's going to be a shitty matchup for Whittaker. and especially considering that like Whittaker has been hurt in his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in his last 5 fights, he's been hurt badly at least once each. The dude's taken a lot of damage and he's had a lot of injuries before that. I'm scared for my boy. I love Bobby Knuckles. I'm gonna pick him because I fucking love him and because I think he's a better fighter than Gastelum, but I don't think this is a good matchup stylistically for him.
Verdict also is picking Whittaker and picking him 49% say he's going to win by decision. And then the most common pick for Gastelum is just 6% giving him the decision, and then a few scattered calls for knockouts throughout the card, but overall, very heavily leaning Robert Whittaker.
So the algorithm has Robert Whittaker as a 51% favorite. It's got this puffy close as all hell, but the books don't have it as such, so we caught value on Gastelum. If you're throwing it all, 8.2% on Gastelum. If you have a fun, 0.62%. Now I want to give my opinion. I think if Gastelum can make this a dogfight, he wins. If it's chin against chin, no one's knocking Gastelum out like that. You got to be a real Izzy stunned him real bad. Who else has stunned him? Has he been knocked out?
Let's be real here. Izzy knocked him out in the last seconds of the fight.
Right.
He got saved by the fucking bell, but he got dropped 4 times badly.
Right. I mean, he's got a jaw. And so if it's a dogfight, he wins. I could see some weird shit happening where Whittaker takes him down. I don't know why I see that. I feel like in fights where what?
Whittaker wrestles.
I could see Whittaker's understanding the problems of a dogfight. And I could see him getting frustrated with the stand-up and maybe even taking Gastelum down and controlling him on the ground. I could see that. But I also could see that being one of the dumber things I've said. It can go either way.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. And even though I personally think Whittaker takes the win, I don't mind the value play here. I think that's a good place for it.
Yeah.
All right. And I think with that, that wraps us up for this week. We will be back next week to discuss UFC 261, the card of dumb decisions. All right. See you next week.